So, this is the second video in this series in which I try to model a ton of things to build out my portfolio. And in this one, I'll make this iconic Colt M1911. So let's get straight to it. So as always, I'll start with a blockout using the references from blueprints.com. I try to establish the basic shapes of the model, and on the go I try to figure out what I want to do with this model. And in the end I decided that I want this to be a game ready model, so I kept my details low. And it started out somewhat simple, even though the gun looks complex. So I have my model finished in no time. But before we move forward, I need to ask you to subscribe. Of course I need to refine my model, and this took longer than actually making the model, because I worked a lot on the two main parts of the model. By the way, I used a lot of this new shade smooth by angle and getting the edges that I need to be sharp by hand. And I've been loving it so far, because it helps with compatibility with other programs, as they pretty much always rely on this sharp seam marker to shade your model. And I always like when Blender devs come up with such great updates. Anyway, when I finished refining my model, and now comes the UV unwrapping, which was very easy, with all the seams that I already set as sharp, so I didn't waste a lot of time on that. Then I made a material ID map, and we are on to texturing. But I didn't film it, and I had to redo it like 6 times, so I just played the modeling footage. But since I didn't have much details, the cool AC effects aren't working, so I have to set up some simple textures, and I chose those colors for it from the gun I had in Red Dead Redemption 2. And there you have it. I uploaded it to my Sketchfab, so you can download it for free if you want it. But why does it look so simple? I thought of that, and I've looked into my workflow to find the problem. And when I compared it to the process of other creators, I realized that I skipped the texturing on high poly and was optimizing it right there and then, doing the UV unwrapping, losing all the details in the process. That's why all the curvature-based effects weren't working properly. Maybe. So my entire workflow looks something like this. First of all, I made a model going from simple shapes, also called blockout, to more complex ones. And next up, I optimized the model, getting rid of the bad topology and endguns. Then UV unwrapping and texturing. And I did this in my previous video, and it worked out okay. Maybe because I didn't need as many details there. And I have over 2k hours in Blender, so that just goes to show it's what you do and not for how long you do it. I mean, I did all my texturing in Blender, so I didn't really need that. So I guess I will change my workflow for the next model, making the high poly and the low poly version. I just now realized that I have no idea how to bake from high poly to low poly. Do I bake the normals to low poly right away and then use that map in my texturing program? Or do I just texture the high poly model and then bake all that to low poly one? I think the first one is the best, so I'll just add a baking of a normal and AC map after the optimization, but I guess I'll have to find out. And yes, I understand that this is not needed for all the models, and I can just skip the optimization as a separate part, as we all tweak our models along the way anyway. But in this case, I optimized the model way too soon, and I didn't add the necessary details in the first place. And as I already made 2 vids about making guns, let's make something that will utilize all the details and the baking step, like this Colt, or this one. Choose in the comments. But that's for another video. For now, check out my add-on, Sketchfab, like, subscribe, and bye bye.